So today, guys, we're going to be talking about Euro USD as we always do, and what we should expect from the Euro USD this week. So first of all, we're going to go to the 4 hours time frame and talk about what we did last week and what actually played out. So last week, I was expecting we are around this region here, and I was expecting a touch of this trend line before we head down, which we actually got a touch of this trend line, and we started heading down. So now Euro USD is currently at our first level target, which is this overall consolidation at the weekly time frame. So we are still consolidating here, so we might be anticipating a push to the upside from this level. It can happen, or a further push to the downside before we head back to the upside. But most likely we are going to be heading back to the upside overall. For that's if we are respecting, if we are to respect this consolidation here without breaking below it, then that means we should be pushing back to the upside. But if we don't respect this consolidation, we might see a break to the downside before pushing to the upside. So you guys, what am I going to be looking out for this week? So this week, coming into the 4 hours time frame, now let's go to the 1 day time frame first. So on the 1 day time frame, I had my Fibonacci level, which was from swing low to swing high, and we had this Fibonacci level which was actually which we had a breakout below last week. So now this is a tricky situation because at this level anything can happen. First of all, we have a break below this Fibonacci level, which signifies to us that we are most likely going to see more selling pressure in the market. But also we have this level right here, which is the internal consolidation, which needs to be taken out first before we can now start saying, okay, we want to start shorting Euro USD down to the downside, which is around this 1.14863 region here, before we now further push to the upside. But currently now we just need to wait for the market to give us a clear direction of where we want to go to. We are still very much bearish for the euro, but anything can happen at this level. So let's go to the 4 hours time frame and let's see what exactly we should be expecting, if or how we're going to be entering the market if the market decides to continue bearish. So just like last week, well, let me delete this. So just like last week, when we anticipated a push up to this trend line before pushing back down, that is exactly what I'll be anticipating this week. Probably a retest of this trend line here before we now push back to the downside, which is going to be around the 1.15330 region. So we want to see a push to the upside here, then a continuation to the downside. So something like this, if we are something like this, a push to this side here, then a push down to this level here. That's what I'll be expecting from the market going into next week. Although we have some big events happening next week, we have Trump's speech and we have some other mental news coming out, so we need to be careful when we're trading the euro, especially now that we've approached this internal consolidation low here. We need to actually be very careful because anything can happen on this low. We can decide to reverse back up, but if we are actually going to be heading back to the upside, then I want to see a break above this sell trend line, then we retest, then a continuation to the upside. But as long as this sell trend line is still valid and is still holding the market is still trading below this sell trend line, then I can for sure say that we are still very much in a bearish market. But as long as this trend line still holds, but if we break above this trend line, then we can be looking for a change in character, a change in trend, and we'll start looking for more buying opportunities to the upside. So that is it about the Euro USD. So a break above here, retest, we can start looking for short to the up of this consolidation level, which is around the 1800 region. So this is our bias for the week going into this week. So for Euro USD, as long as we are still below this trend line, we can still be anticipating more bearish movements, and but as long as we're still below this trend line. But if we break above this trend line, then we can start anticipating more bullish movement. So that is it on the Euro USD. So let's talk about the DXY. So the DXY is no other different than what we saw on the Euro USD. So the DXY, we just need to see what we call a retest, probably we slight pull back into this trend line here to validate this trend line, then a push above to the 99.828 region before we now start looking for more selling opportunities to the downside. So that is it on DXY. The DXY is still very much bullish for now, but we need to come into this region, this 99.857 region, before we start looking for short opportunities for the DXY. As you can see, the reason why I'm anticipating this region is because this is a region that has this is a sell trend line that has first touch, second touch, third touch. So we might probably come in and put in another test here before we now react bearish off of this trend line. So that is it on Euro USD and the DXY.